Hello, welcome to Secret Zone. Subscribe and turn on notifications for stories you won't forget. Ryan and Lilia's life looked like a dream, one of those perfect stories people only see in movies. They had fallen in love young, built a life together, and despite the challenges of modern work schedules, they made it work. Ryan, a marketing executive in the city, often came home tired but happy, knowing that Lily, his wife, and their two daughters, Emma and Sophie, were waiting with smiles and warmth. Lily, a creative designer in a different office, balanced her career and motherhood effortlessly, always finding ways to make the house feel alive. From the aroma of fresh coffee in the morning to the quiet bedtime stories for the girls, their relationship was a blend of laughter, small surprises, and gestures of love that kept the spark alive. Weekends were full of park trips, family games, and cozy movie nights. To anyone watching from the outside, their life seemed unbreakable. A perfect family built on trust, love, and shared dreams. But life, as it often does, had hidden cracks beneath the surface. Small changes had started creeping in, unnoticed subtle hints that something in Lily's heart was shifting. Ryan first noticed her distracted glances, her delayed replies to messages, and the long pauses that came when he tried to share his day with her. She smiled, but it wasn't quite the same. Her laughter sometimes seemed rehearsed, a little too controlled. At first, he brushed it off as work, stress, or fatigue. But deep down, Ryan felt a growing unease, a quiet whisper that something was not right. Then, one evening, everything changed. Ryan returned home, the weight of deadlines, meetings, and city traffic pressing down on him. He opened the front door, expecting the familiar warmth of home, only to see Lily sitting at the dining table, arms crossed, her expression unreadable, her gaze fixed on him with a seriousness he had never seen before. "We need to talk," she said softly but firmly, her voice steady, as though this moment had been planned long before he walked in. A chill ran down Ryan's spine. Something in her tone told him this wasn't going to be a normal conversation, not a trivial disagreement, not a fleeting argument. It was something far more serious, something that would change their lives forever. When Lily spoke the words, Ryan felt the room spin. "I want a divorce," she said, as calm and unwavering as the ocean on a still day. The words hit like lightning, freezing him in place. His mind raced through years of shared memories, the first date, the late-night talks, the countless weekends spent building dreams together, the sleepless nights, comforting Emma and Sophie, the vacations that had brought joy and laughter. How could the woman he loved more than life itself, the mother of his children, the partner who had shared his entire world, say such words without hesitation? Yet Lily wasn't angry. She wasn't emotional. She wasn't seeking a fight. She had made a decision. It was final. Ryan tried to speak, to reason, to plead, to find even the slightest hint that this was a misunderstanding. He reminded her of the life they had built, the love they had nurtured, the sleepless nights and sacrifices they had shared. But Lily remained detached, almost mechanical in her tone. "It's not you," she said quietly. "It's me. Something inside me has changed, and I need to follow a new path." A heavy silence filled the room, thick enough to suffocate. Ryan's chest tightened, yet he forced himself to stay calm. His heart raced, his mind spun with disbelief, but outwardly, he maintained composure. He wanted to understand, to negotiate, to fight, but Lily's resolve was unshakable. Over the next few hours, they talked about the practicalities of the separation, the 60-day period they would live apart while managing the children, dividing responsibilities, and maintaining routines for Emma and Sophie. Ryan suggested ways to keep the girls' lives as normal as possible, proposing visitation schedules, shared responsibilities, and emotional support. But Lily agreed to everything with a detached, almost rehearsed calm. Ryan moved into a small apartment nearby with the daughters. The house they had shared, once filled with laughter, warmth, and love, now seemed like a silent witness to a life that had ended abruptly. Nights were the hardest. He could hear the echoes of his daughter's laughter, feel the absence of Lily beside him, and realize that the life he had built was gone. Yet Ryan's love for his daughters grounded him. He knew he had to be strong, not only for them, but for himself. to navigate a world that now seems strange and cruel. Meanwhile, Lily stepped into a new chapter of her life, leaving behind the home, the stability, and the man who had loved her unconditionally. She believed in the freedom her choice would bring, unaware of the consequences, unaware that the path she had chosen would not lead to happiness. Ryan, heartbroken but composed, began to discover that life has a way of balancing itself, that sometimes betrayal and heartbreak open doors to truths that are even more shocking than the betrayal itself. And this was only the beginning. What followed over the next 60 days, as Ryan lived apart from Lily while caring for their children, would shock everyone. The twists of fate, the revelations, and the unexpected turns would show a story of heartbreak, resilience, and astonishing consequences that no one could have predicted. Ryan's quiet strength, his unwavering focus on his daughters, and his dignity would set the stage for a reversal of circumstances that would leave viewers stunned and captivated. The story wasn't just about a wife leaving her husband. It was about love, loss, resilience, and the consequences of decisions that would ripple through lives, hearts, and destinies in ways no one could anticipate. By the end of this story, viewers would understand that betrayal isn't always the final chapter, and that sometimes the unexpected choices we make set the stage for the most shocking and unforgettable endings. The question hangs in the air. What happens when a life built on love is shattered by betrayal, and who truly finds happiness in the aftermath? Ryan and Lily's love story had always felt timeless, like a melody that never ended. From the first moment they met, sparks had ignited that neither of them could ignore. Lily, with her warm laugh and gentle charm, had instantly captured Ryan's heart, and he, with his quiet confidence and unwavering kindness, had captivated her. Together, they had built a life filled with joy, trust, and little rituals that made every day feel special. Their home echoed with laughter, the playful footsteps of their daughters, Emma and Sophie, running from room to room, and the soft hum of shared conversations that lingered late into the night. Despite their demanding careers, Ryan's long hours at a marketing firm and Lily's creative deadlines at a design studio, they had never let the stress of life seep into their love. Every morning began with the comforting rhythm of coffee shared over sleepy smiles and whispered "I love us." Every weekend was a tapestry of family trips, park walks, or cozy movie nights with popcorn and blankets. Their daughters were the centerpiece of their world, innocent and joyful, reflecting the deep bond between their parents. For Ryan, Lily was more than a wife. She was the partner he had chosen for life, the anchor of his heart and the mother of his children. He believed that nothing could shake their foundation. But life has a way of planting seeds of doubt in even the strongest hearts. Lily, though always loving, began to feel a quiet restlessness. It was subtle at first, a lingering glance at her phone, a pause in conversation that Ryan couldn't explain, an occasional sigh that seemed to weigh heavier than usual. Ryan, absorbed in his work and family responsibilities, noticed but brushed it off, attributing it to stress or exhaustion. He trusted Lily implicitly. He could not imagine that she would ever betray the family they had nurtured together. Then came the evening that changed everything. Ryan returned home later than usual, the city's traffic having worn down his patience, his briefcase heavy with reports and deadlines. He opened the door, expecting the familiar warmth of home, only to find Lily sitting at the dining table, her posture rigid, arms crossed, her eyes distant and unreadable. Something in her expression froze him in place. "We need to talk," she said, her voice calm but firm, like the first crack in a glass that would soon shatter completely. Ryan's heart skipped a beat. The tone of her voice was unlike any he had ever heard. It carried a finality that both terrified and confused him. "Hi." "Okay," Ryan said cautiously, trying to keep his voice steady. He set his briefcase down and sat across from her, searching for any hint that this was a temporary frustration, a fleeting anger, or a misunderstood conversation. But Lily's gaze held no softness, no hesitation. She exhaled slowly and looked directly at him. "Ryan, I want a divorce." The words landed like thunder in Ryan's chest. For a moment, time seemed to stop. Memories rushed through his mind how they had laughed during their first vacation. The nights he had stayed awake, comforting Emma when she had a nightmare. The countless mornings he had brewed coffee for Lily before she left for work. Every shared moment of love, Every sacrifice, every little joy all flashed in an instant, and he could not comprehend how they could all end so abruptly. Ryan's voice caught in his throat. Lily, what? Why? I don't understand. We've built everything together. The girls, this home, our life. How can you just... It's not about what we've built. Ryan, Lily interrupted, her voice steady but cold. It's about me. I've changed. I need something else. I need to find my path without this marriage. Her words were precise, almost surgical. Cutting through every defense Ryan tried to build. She wasn't angry. She wasn't hysterical. She was firm, methodical, and terrifyingly certain. Ryan sat back trying to grasp reality. Is there someone else? He asked quietly, fearing the answer, yet needing to know. Lily shook her head. It's not about another man, she said. It's about me realizing that I need more. I can't explain it any other way. The silence that followed was suffocating. Ryan's mind spun. How could the woman he loved so deeply, the mother of his children, the soul he had trusted with everything, simply decide to walk away? He remembered every detail of their love, their late-night talks, the little surprises they gave each other, the joy of watching their daughters grow up. And now, it was all threatened by a single decision. Over the next hour, they talked practically about separation. Ryan, still reeling, tried to negotiate how they would handle the girls, how he could remain part of their lives, and how to preserve some semblance of family for Emma and Sophie. Lily agreed to everything, but her words lacked warmth. She spoke with a distant tone, as though this conversation had been rehearsed countless times. They discussed the 60-day period Ryan would live elsewhere with the children, the logistics of finances, and the emotional impact on the girls. Despite the heartbreak, Ryan's love for his daughters anchored him. He promised to maintain routines, dinners, and bedtime stories. Every step, every arrangement, was a silent battle between heartbreak and responsibility. That night, Ryan lay awake in the empty bed that had once been shared with Lily. The silence of the home pressed in, heavier than any argument, colder than any night he had ever known. Emma and Sophie slept in their new temporary room, blissfully unaware of the storm around them. Ryan's heart ached, not just for himself, but for the innocence of his children, for the family that had been shattered before their eyes. He realized, painfully, that love, no matter how deep, sometimes could not prevent betrayal. Yet, amidst the grief, Ryan felt a quiet determination. He would protect his daughters, he would honor the love that had once existed, and he would maintain his dignity no matter how deep the hurt ran. Lily may have walked away from their marriage, but Ryan vowed to remain a pillar of stability, a source of love and care for the girls, and a man who refused to let heartbreak destroy the life that still mattered most. As Ryan drifted into a restless sleep, he didn't know what the next 60 days would bring, only that they would be filled with heartbreak, unexpected revelations, and choices that would shock everyone. What was meant to be an ending was just the beginning of a story that no one would see coming. Love, betrayal, resilience, and the consequences of choices were about to collide in ways that would test hearts, reveal secrets, and forever change lives. Ryan packed the last of his belongings into the car while Emma and Sophie watched quietly from the doorway, clutching their favorite toys. The house, which had once been filled with laughter and the warmth of family, now felt empty, hollow, as if the walls themselves mourned the absence of the love that had once thrived there. Ryan took a deep breath, steadying himself, knowing that the next 60 days would test every ounce of his patience, resilience, and heart. He knelt down to the girl's level, brushing Emma's hair behind her ear and holding Sophie close. I know this is hard, he sighed softly, his voice trembling despite his effort to remain calm. But we'll make this work. We'll have our little routines, just the three of us, and nothing will change how much I love you. Their small hands wrapped around his fingers, trusting, innocent, unaware of the storm that had already begun to change their lives. Ryan felt a pang of sorrow. He had promised Lily forever, and now he had to navigate the unfamiliar waters of single parenting with the heart of a betrayed husband still bleeding quietly. The drive to the small apartment Ryan had rented was quiet, punctuated only by the occasional question from Emma about when they would return home, and Sophie murmured concerns about Mommy. Ryan reassured them with gentle words. his heart breaking for the confusion and fear in their little faces. He promised that everything would be all right, even as he grappled with the raw reality of Lily's departure. Meanwhile, across town, Lily had already begun to settle into her new life. Though outwardly calm, a storm brewed inside her. She had convinced herself that this decision was necessary, that it was the path to freedom and fulfillment she had longed for. Her new lover, Jason, seemed perfect in her eyes, charming, attentive, and ready to fill the space Ryan had once occupied. But beneath the excitement, a subtle unease gnawed at her. She could feel the absence of the life she had left behind, the laughter of her daughters, the quiet, steady presence of Ryan, and the familiar warmth of home. It was a strange, unsettling feeling, as though she had stepped into a world that was thrilling but hollow, exciting but incomplete. Ryan, meanwhile, worked tirelessly to create a new sense of normalcy for Emma and Sophie. He cooked breakfast in the small kitchen, making pancakes and scrambled eggs, trying to keep the routine they had always known. He helped them with schoolwork, carried them to the park, and told bedtime stories. Each action a small rebellion against the heartbreak that threatened to overwhelm him. His love for his daughters became a source of strength, a reason to endure the long nights of solitude. The aching absence of Lily, and the sharp sting of betrayal that never fully left his heart. The 60 days passed slowly. Each day brought its own set of challenges, juggling work and parenting, managing the girls' questions about mommy, and dealing with the gnawing loneliness that accompanied every quiet evening. Ryan found himself reflecting on the life he had lost, the intimate moments shared with Lily, and the dreams they had built together. Memories haunted him. The first time Lily had whispered, "I love you," in the middle of the night. The day Emma had taken her first steps. The family vacations where laughter had echoed through sunlit streets. Now, those memories felt distant, like snapshots of a life that belonged to someone else. For Lily, the excitement of a new romance began to fade, replaced by subtle doubts and growing dissatisfaction. Jason, while attentive, lacked the depth, history, and familiarity that Ryan had shared with her. Small irritations grew into frustrations, and the thrill of rebellion slowly gave way to a gnawing emptiness. She missed the quiet moments of love, the warmth of family, and Eben Ryan's quiet strength that she had once taken for granted. But pride and stubbornness kept her moving forward, unable to turn back, unwilling to admit that the path she had chosen might be filled with mistakes and regrets. One evening, as Ryan tucked the girls into bed, he lingered a moment longer than usual, feeling the weight of the empty house around him. He whispered a promise to them, a vow that no matter what happened, they would always have each other, and he would do everything in his power to keep their lives filled with love, laughter, and security. The girls, drifting into sleep, trusted him without question, and in their innocence, Ryan found a small measure of peace amidst the chaos of heartbreak and betrayal. Across town, Lily sat in the dim light of her apartment, staring at her phone. Messages from Jason pinged intermittently, each one a reminder of the new life she had chosen, yet failing to fill the void left by the life she had abandoned. She tried to convince herself that this was freedom, that this was happiness, but deep down a part of her ached for what she had lost. It was a quiet, gnawing sorrow, the realization that love, once lost, could never be fully replaced by excitement or novelty. The days grew longer for both of them. Ryan navigated sleepless nights with the girls, school mornings, and quiet moments of reflection. Lily wrestled with her growing dissatisfaction, the absence of her children, and the fleeting thrill of a romance that had begun to feel hollow. Both lived separate lives, yet the invisible thread of their past connection tugged at them, pulling memories, emotions, and unresolved feelings into every thought and action. By the end of the 60 days, Ryan had transformed the small apartment into a home. Emma and Sophie laughed again, their lives settling into a rhythm despite the absence of Lily. Ryan felt stronger, more resilient, and fiercely protective of his daughters. He had discovered a depth of love and patience he had never fully known, the kind that comes only from facing betrayal, heartbreak, and the immense responsibility of being both parent and protector. Meanwhile, Lily's illusions of happiness began to crumble. Jason's flaws became evident. The excitement waned, and a gnawing sense of emptiness grew within her. The life she had walked away from, the love she had betrayed, and the family she had abandoned now cast long shadows over every moment she spent with him. She realized that her decisions carried consequences she had never anticipated, and the cost of freedom was heavier than she had imagined. The stage was set for a confrontation that neither of them fully expected. Ryan, though hurt and betrayed, had found strength and clarity. Lily, though initially free and adventurous, faced the truth of her choices. What had begun as heartbreak and separation would soon evolve into a collision of past love, consequences, and unexpected revelations that would shock everyone. Lily woke up to the soft hum of sunlight streaming through the apartment blinds. But instead of feeling alive and excited as she once had when with Jason, she felt an emptiness that gnawed at her chest. The apartment, stylish and new, should have felt like freedom, a fresh start, but it didn't. It felt cold, hollow. The laughter of her daughters, the warmth of the home she had abandoned, and the quiet, steadfast presence of Ryan were missing. She had thought love with Jason would be thrilling, the excitement of a secret romance intoxicating, but the reality was far from the fantasy she had built in her mind. Jason, she soon realized, was not the man she had imagined. He was charming, yes, but his attention was shallow, fleeting, and selfish, where Ryan had always been patient, steady, and quietly protective. Jason was impulsive, easily irritated, and more concerned with himself than her. Arguments that started small grew quickly into tension, and Lily found herself retreating into silence, trying to ignore the growing discomfort. It was ironic that in leaving a life of love, stability, and family, she had walked straight into a life of superficial passion that left her heart aching with longing for what she had once had. Meanwhile, Ryan's life had taken on a rhythm that, while challenging, brought him closer than ever to Emma and Sophie. He had learned the delicate balance of being both mother and father, protector and friend. He woke them up in the mornings with pancakes and laughter, drove them to school, helped them with homework, and tucked them into bed at night with stories of dragons, fairies, and adventures. Every smile, every giggle from his daughters became a balm for the pain of betrayal he had endured. He realized that love could be rebuilt in the quiet moments, in routines, in trust, and in the simple, unspoken connections that family provides. Ryan often found himself thinking of Lily not with anger, but with the bittersweet ache of someone who had loved deeply and lost. He remembered the late nights they had shared, the tender touches, the whispered confessions in the dark, and the life they had built together. But he had also learned that life must move forward, that heartbreak could be transformed into strength, and that he had responsibilities that came before personal sorrow. His focus on his daughters, on providing stability and love, gave him clarity and purpose that he had never fully appreciated before. For Lily, the contrast between her life and the one she had abandoned grew sharper with every passing day. She missed the laughter of Emma and Sophie, the simple warmth of home, and even the quiet moments of compromise and understanding with Ryan. She had believed her happiness depended on leaving, on chasing a new love, but now she realized that what she had chased was shallow, fleeting, and empty compared to the depth of the life she had left behind. Every argument with Jason, every lonely evening, reminded her of the price she had paid for impulsive decisions. One evening, after another argument with Jason, Lily sat by the window, staring out at the city lights, her thoughts turning in circles. She tried to convince herself that freedom was worth the cost, that excitement and novelty could replace love and family, but the truth was undeniable. She was lonely, she was unfulfilled, and she had lost the family that had once been her world. Every memory of Ryan, of the girls, of the quiet love they had shared, pierced her heart like a small but relentless blade. Back at Ryan's apartment, the scene was markedly different. The girls were laughing as they painted, and Ryan was sitting beside them, helping Emma mix colors, while Sophie proudly showed off her tiny, imperfect brushstrokes. The apartment, modest and unremarkable, was alive with the warmth of love, laughter, and genuine connection. Ryan realized that despite the heartbreak, despite the betrayal, life could still be beautiful. He had found a way to turn sorrow into strength, to create joy even in the aftermath of loss. As days passed, Ryan's bond with the girls deepened. He became their constant, unwavering source of love, guidance, and comfort. He knew the coming months would be challenging, but he was determined to give them the stability they deserved. He cooked their favorite meals, helped them with school projects, and created little traditions to make their new home feel like a place of safety and warmth. Each small act reinforced the reality that life could continue, that happiness could be found even after betrayal, and that love could be rebuilt in new forms. Meanwhile, Lily's frustration and dissatisfaction grew. Jace's charm was wearing thin, and his flaws became glaringly obvious. He was impatient, inconsiderate, and inattentive to her emotional needs. The initial thrill of leaving Ryan had been replaced with an emptiness that no romance could fill. She began to realize that the love she had taken for granted, the quiet, steadfast, enduring love of Ryan, was something rare, something she might never find again. The gravity of a mistake weighed heavily on her, and for the first time, she questioned the choices she had made. One afternoon, as Lily sat alone in her apartment, her phone buzzed with a message from Ryan. It was simple, direct. "The girls and I will be at the park tomorrow, if you want to see them." She stared at the message, her heart racing. Seeing her daughters again could be dangerous, could reopen old wounds, but the longing she felt to reconnect, to see the life she had left, was undeniable. She hesitated, knowing that stepping into Ryan's world again would force her to confront the consequences of her actions. The next day, Lily arrived at the park, her heart pounding with anxiety and guilt. She saw Ryan sitting on a bench, Emma and Sophie playing nearby, laughing and carefree. Ryan looked up, saw her, and gave a calm, measured nod, a gesture of acknowledgement rather than anger. Lily felt a mix of relief and shame. The sight of Ryan with their daughters, laughing and present, reminded her of everything she had lost and everything she might never regain. As she watched, Lily realized that Ryan had not only survived her betrayal, but he had thrived in her absence. He had become a stronger, more resilient man, a loving father, and a protector for their children. She saw him in a new light, not as the man she had taken for granted, but as the anchor that had held their family together even when she had abandoned it. The realization hit her with a crushing force. Her decisions had irrevocably changed the course of their lives, and there was no simple way to undo the past. Ryan, meanwhile, treated Lily with measured civility. He did not lash out. He did not accuse. He simply acknowledged her presence and focused on the girls. Emma ran to her mother, hugging her tightly, while Sophie followed with a shy smile. Ryan smiled softly, letting the girls' affection flow naturally, reinforcing that his priority had always been their well-being. He was no longer the heartbroken husband. He was the steadfast father, the protector, the man who had turned pain into purpose. Lily spent the day at the park in quiet reflection, seeing the life she had abandoned, the laughter, the love, the resilience of the man she had betrayed forced her to confront her choices. The excitement of her affair had faded, replaced by guilt, regret, and a deep longing for the family she had taken for granted. She realized that love was not about novelty or thrill, but about presence, patience, and unwavering commitment. By the end of the day, Lily left the park with a heavy heart. She had glimpsed what she had lost, what she could not regain, and the consequences of her impulsive decisions weighed heavily on her. Ryan, on the other hand, returned home with Emma and Sophie, their laughter filling the apartment, a testament to the resilience of love and family. He had survived heartbreak, nurtured his daughters, and discovered that life could still hold beauty, joy, and fulfillment even after betrayal. The chapter closed with Lily lying awake that night, staring at the ceiling, the memory of Ryan and the girls etched into her mind. She knew that the path she had chosen had led to heartache, and that the life she had abandoned was thriving without her. Meanwhile, Ryan slept beside Emma and Sophie, peaceful and content, having transformed tragedy into a life filled with love, stability, and hope for the future. The stage was set for the next chapter, a collision of past love, consequences, and the ultimate realization of what true happiness really meant. Lily had thought that leaving Ryan and her children for Jason would bring her happiness. She had imagined endless excitement, passion, and freedom, but after weeks of small disappointments, turning into big arguments, she finally realized the reality of the path she had chosen. Jason was not the man she had believed him to be. He was self-centered, careless, and increasingly critical. Every time she tried to express herself, he dismissed her feelings. The sparkle of romance she had chased was quickly fading, replaced by boredom, loneliness, and regret. At first, Lily tried to convince herself it was temporary, that the thrill of a new life would return, that she just needed to adjust. But the more days passed, the more she noticed the small cracks in Jason's character. He ignored her when she needed support, spent hours on his phone, and made her feel isolated in her own apartment. The life she had traded, the laughter of Emma and Sophie, and the quiet, steady love of Ryan, felt like a warm light she could never touch again. Meanwhile, Ryan's life had settled into a comforting rhythm. He had rented a small but cozy apartment close to his office, so he could be fully present for his daughters. Every morning, he woke them up with pancakes, brushed their hair, packed lunches, and reminded them of the little joys in life. He took them to school, helped them with homework, and celebrated every small achievement. The girls' laughter became his medicine, their smiles his motivation, and their love a daily reminder that life could still be beautiful after betrayal. One evening, as Ryan tucked Sophie into bed, she hugged him tightly and whispered, "Daddy, I wish Mom was happy like you are." Ryan kissed her forehead softly. "She'll figure it out, sweetheart. What matters most is that we're together now." That night, Ryan reflected on the past months. The pain of Lily's betrayal had been deep, but it had also forced him to become stronger, more patient, and more compassionate. He realized that love was not about perfection or avoiding pain. It was about commitment, understanding, and being there for the people who mattered most. Lily, meanwhile, had reached the breaking point. Jason had insulted her in front of friends, ignored her calls for days, and even forgotten an important date that had meant so much to her. She felt humiliated, lonely, and desperate. The excitement of a new relationship had dissolved into a crushing reality. She had made a mistake leaving Ryan. Her heart ached for the family she had abandoned, for the home filled with love and laughter, and for the steady man who had once been her partner in everything. One afternoon, in a rare moment of clarity, Lily called Ryan's sister, Ava. She had no excuse, no request, a desperate longing to understand if she could reconnect with her past, even if just to see her daughters. Ava was polite, but firm. She reminded Lily that Ryan had moved on, that he had rebuilt a life with the girls, and that any attempt to interfere would only bring more pain. But something inside Lily refused to listen to reason. She felt drawn to the family she had once been part of, and the emptiness in her own life made her long for what she had abandoned. The tension in Lily's life escalated when Jason's flaws became impossible to ignore. He lied, he cheated, and he revealed a selfishness that shocked her. The life she had thought she wanted had turned toxic, a constant source of anxiety and despair. Every argument reminded her of the love she had thrown away. Every lonely night emphasized the absence of warmth, trust, and true connection. She began to wonder if she had destroyed her chance at happiness forever. Meanwhile, Ryan's home was a sanctuary of stability. Emma and Sophie were thriving, their laughter echoing through the apartment. Ryan had managed to create a life of consistency, care, and joy for them. They were happy, secure, and loved. The girls' smiles reminded him daily that love could endure pain, that family could survive betrayal, and that even after heartbreak, life could be filled with moments of magic. One day, as Lily walked home from another argument with Jason, she felt an undeniable pull toward Ryan's neighborhood. It was irrational, impulsive, but she could not resist the thought of seeing her daughters, even from a distance. She parked the car a few blocks away, watching as Emma and Sophie played in the yard. Ryan was there, supervising, laughing, and joining in their games. Lily's heart ached as she realized that he had thrived without her, that the life she had abandoned was still full of joy and love. The next day, she made a difficult decision. She called Ryan. Her voice trembled as she asked if she could come over just to see the girls. Ryan listened quietly, neither angry nor welcoming, but calm and composed. He agreed, with the condition that the focus would be on the children. Lily felt a mix of hope and anxiety, knowing that this meeting could change. Everett the Nor confirmed that she had lost her family forever. When Lily arrived at Ryan's home, the sight of her daughters running to greet her brought tears to her eyes. She hugged Emma and Sophie tightly, feeling a warmth she had not experienced since leaving. Ryan watched silently, allowing the reunion but keeping boundaries clear. He had built a life that did not depend on her presence, and he had no intention of letting the past disrupt the stability he had worked so hard to create. Throughout the day, Lily observed Ryan with the girls. He was patient, kind, and attentive. Every smile, every laugh, every gentle correction reminded her of the man she had taken for granted. Her heart ached with regret, but she also began to understand the magnitude of her mistake. She had left a life of love, stability, and family for a fleeting thrill, and now she was confronted with the consequences. By evening, Lily left Ryan's home with a heavy heart. She realized that happiness could not be taken for granted, that true love was built on commitment, patience, and trust. She had lost her chance with Ryan, and even if she tried to reclaim it, she knew the road would be difficult and filled with obstacles. Meanwhile, Ryan returned home, content and fulfilled, knowing that he had created a safe, loving, and joyful life for his daughters. He had endured betrayal, but he had transformed it into a life of strength, stability, and genuine happiness. Chapter 4 closed with Lily lying awake in her apartment, reflecting on the choices she had made. She understood that she had been impulsive, that her search for excitement had led her astray, and that she had abandoned a life of true love. Ryan, on the other hand, fell asleep with Emma and Sophie tucked beside him, the sound of their breathing a comforting rhythm. He had not only survived heartbreak, he had grown stronger because of it. The stage was now set for the final chapter, the resolution, confrontation, and the ultimate lesson about love, choices, and consequences. Ryan sat quietly in his living room, the soft laughter of his daughters echoing through the house. It was a sound that warmed his heart and reminded him why he had endured so much pain. Natalie, his second wife, moved gracefully around the home, helping the girls with homework, making their favorite pancakes, and sharing tender moments of love and care. Every gesture she made, every smile she gave, spoke of a love that was patient, genuine, and healing. Ryan watched her and felt a peace he hadn't known in years to come that came not from forgetting the past, but from embracing a new life built on trust and true connection. The past, of course, was never far. Memories of Lily's betrayal sometimes flashed in his mind, sharp and bitter, like a wound that had finally begun to heal. But now, instead of consuming him with anger or sorrow, those memories served as a reminder of how far he had come, of the happiness he had earned despite the heartbreak. Lily had chosen her path, but life had given him another one, filled with loyalty, love, and family. One afternoon, an unexpected knock came at the door. Ryan opened it to find Lily standing there, her eyes wide, lips trembling, and disbelief written all over her face. She had come, driven by curiosity or perhaps a flicker of regret, to see the life she had left behind. As she stepped inside, the sound of her daughter's laughter made her heart clench. She saw them running to Natalie, hugging her tightly, whispering secrets and giggles that were once shared only with her. Natalie's face lit up with warmth, her laughter blending effortlessly with the children's joy. Ryan looked up and greeted her politely, calm and collected, a man who had moved beyond resentment. "Lily?" he said softly. "Come in." But even as he spoke, Lily's eyes were fixed on Natalie, observing the ease, the comfort, the love that surrounded Ryan now. For the first time, Lily truly saw what she had lost, not just a husband, but a family united in happiness and trust, something she had chosen to abandon for her own desires. Natalie, unaware of Lily's silent judgment, continued her gentle care, brushing hair, helping with homework, and sharing smiles with the children. There was no tension in her movements, no trace of insecurity, only the confidence of a woman who had built a life on love and respect. Ryan felt a pang of satisfaction, not out of malice, but from the justice of seeing the life he deserved flourishing in front of him. Lily's presence seemed almost like a ghost from the past, witnessing a life she could never reclaim. The girls, oblivious to the silent drama unfolding, ran around happily Mommy Natalie, they called, hugging her and asking her to read them a story. Ryan watched, his heart full, knowing he had found someone who loved not only him but his children unconditionally. Lily, meanwhile, could only stand there, her eyes welling with tears as she realized the depth of what she had thrown away. The home she once shared with Ryan was no longer hers. It belonged to a new chapter, one she had no part in. For Ryan, the sight was bittersweet. He had moved on, found peace, and embraced love again. But he couldn't completely ignore the shadows of the past. He had loved Lily once, deeply, but the choices she made had led him to Natalie, a woman who respected, valued, and nurtured him and his children in ways he had always deserved. And as he watched Natalie laugh with the girls, Ryan understood that some losses, painful as they were, made space for even greater happiness. Lily finally spoke, her voice trembling. "Ryan, I didn't expect. But no words could undo the life that had already been built." Ryan listened calmly, his expression serene. "Lily," he said gently, "the past is behind us. This life, this family, this is real. I hope one day you can find peace too." With a heavy heart, Lily turned and walked away, tears streaming down her face. Outside, she could hear the echoes of laughter, a sound that now marked her absence in a life that had moved on without her. She realized, painfully, that decisions have consequences, and sometimes the happiness we chase comes at the cost of losing everything we once held dear. Back inside, Ryan sat with Natalie and the girls, holding their hands, feeling a profound sense of completeness. The house was filled with warmth, trust, and love, a stark contrast to the emptiness of betrayal. Ryan understood now that the hardest trials often lead to the most beautiful beginnings. Natalie wasn't just a second chance. She was the life he was always meant to have, and surrounded by love, laughter, and family. Ryan knew with certainty that he had found the happiness he deserved, while Lily was left with nothing but the echoes of what could have been. Thank you for watching.